On Christmas Day, my dad blocked me at the door and said, "You're not welcome here. Go home." Behind him, I saw my brother, my aunt, even my closest friend laughing at the table. I just smiled, got back in my car, and made one short call. 10 minutes later, my phone exploded with 101 missed calls. Imagine walking into your own family's Christmas, only to have your dad stop you at the door, look you dead in the eye, and say, "You're not invited. Go home." And the worst part? Through the doorway, you can see your brother, your aunt, even your best friend, laughing, celebrating, like you don't even exist. What would you do in that moment? Would you scream? Would you cry? Or would you, like me, just nod, get back in your car, and make one quick, very deliberate phone call that changed everything? My name's Benjamin. I'm 32, the oldest, the one who always fixes things. I'm a musician, guitar, keys, a voice good enough to pay the rent, but not famous enough to make anyone actually behave. I teach in the afternoons, gigs on weekends, sessions when the studio calls. I'm that guy with the old van, the milk crate of pedals, and a cracked phone with too many set lists in the Notes app. That Christmas night, I pulled up to my parents' place. I had a pie on the passenger seat, my favorite beanie pulled low. I'd rehearsed the line all day, "Merry Christmas, Dad," like a chord I needed to land perfectly. But Dad opened the door before I even reached the porch. He stood there, that tired, heavy look on his face, like he'd already decided on the problem. "You're not invited," he said. "Go home." Just like that. No, Ben, wait. No preamble. Nothing. The heat from the house spilled out around him, gravy, cinnamon, voices. And behind his shoulder, I saw them. My brother Evan in his awful red sweater, Aunt Jo with her pearls, even Kyle, my best friend since 9th grade, lifting a glass at the table like he lived there. Seriously? My voice sounded thin, like it was coming from the driveway, not my chest. Dad didn't blink. "You made your choice." "What choice?" He stepped out onto the mat, blocking half the doorway with the hip that clicks when it rains. "You don't control this family with your money. We don't need you tonight." From the dining room, someone laughed. A fork clinked a plate. Evan actually raised his phone and took a photo, like I was part of the Christmas decorations outside. "Okay," I said. I didn't argue. I didn't ask what rumor they'd been marinating in all day. I just nodded, turned, and walked back to my car, the pie still warm on the seat beside me. I closed the door, stared at my own reflection in the window for a second, and thumbed through my contacts. I made one call. Calm voice. Names. Account numbers. 2 sentences I'd rehearsed in a very different way than "Merry Christmas." I hung up. 10 minutes later, as I pulled away from the curb, my phone started buzzing so hard it slid across the console. Then it went quiet. Then it lit up again, harder, louder. Missed calls stacked up like drum hits. 1, 12, 47. By the time I hit the end of the block, it said 101 missed calls. I kept driving. This didn't start at Christmas. It started years ago. Slow, like a leak under a sink you stop noticing because you learned to step around the puddle. We grew up in a 2-bedroom duplex that shook when buses went by. Dad worked construction until his back gave out. Mom did nights at the care home. Evan floated through college for a semester, then network marketing, then nothing. I booked dive bars and street fairs, putting tips toward bills. When I got my first steady check from a teaching residency, Mom cried. When Evan got his first traffic fine, I paid it. It became a script. Problem, Benjamin. Late utilities, Benjamin. Just until payday, Benjamin. I told myself I was buying time, buying peace, buying a love that hadn't learned how to say itself out loud. There was always a reason. Your brother's trying. We're family. You make more than we do. None of that was exactly true. Some months, my more was $100 and a stack of IOUs to my future self. I did it anyway. I set up autopays. I added people to plans. I told every promoter who tried to pay me cash to please use a transfer so I could track income for taxes. I was responsible, like a person auditioning for the role of the eldest son who doesn't break. Then COVID hit. Gigs vanished. I sold a beloved guitar to cover my own rent and my parents' internet bill because Evan needed Wi-Fi for interviews. The interviews never happened. The bill did. I ate rice and eggs for 3 months and told everyone I was experimenting with tour diet minimalism. Nobody asked if I was okay. They just asked if Netflix still worked. The first crack. Aunt Jo borrowed my keyboard for her church choir. Just for Easter. It showed up on Facebook Marketplace 2 weeks later. When I sent the listing to the family group chat, she wrote, "Oh, sweetie, is that yours? I'll sort it." She didn't. Dad said, "It's just a keyboard. You have two." I had one. The other was a loaner I tuned between classes and begged not to lose. The second crack. Kyle. We used to play tiny shows together, me on guitar, him on cajon. He asked to borrow my interface for 2 days, tops. It came back scratched and half-working. He said, "You can fix it, right? You're the gear guy." I swallowed it because he texted, "Love you, brother," with the same thumbs that had dragged my stuff over concrete. The third crack. Paperwork. One afternoon, Evan texted, "What's our Wi-Fi password again?" Normal. Then I noticed a credit alert. New line of credit opened. $5,000. I stared at the notification until the letters blurred. The address was my parents' house. The phone number was Evan's. The SSN was mine. I called him. "Did you open a card in my name?" Silence. Then, "Don't be dramatic, Ben. I needed to build credit for the truck. You always said you'd help if I took things seriously." His voice had that slippery whine he saved for when he'd already decided I'd cave. I drove over. Evan sat on the couch, shoes on Mom's good blanket, flicking through TikTok. Dad came in from the kitchen, wiping his hands. I held up the alert. Dad glanced at it, then at me. "We'll fix it," he said to the air, like the wall behind me needed reassurance more than I did. "You're good with banks." I kept my temper for about 20 more seconds. "I am," I said, "which is why I'm going to call and report fraud." Mom stepped in then, dish towel over her shoulder. "Don't," she said softly, like I was about to drop a newborn. "That will make things worse for Evan. He's trying." "I'm trying," I said, and I could hear my voice tilt. "And you didn't even tell me we were going to, after you maxed it out?" I asked. He shrugged. "It has points. Relax." We never spoke of it again. I spent a week on hold with the bank and a month sleeping like I'd swallowed wire. I ate the hit to my credit because pressing charges apparently meant making holidays unfixable. I told myself I was choosing the family I had, instead of the one I wanted. The leak got bigger. We learned to mop around it. New patterns formed. I was added as the primary on the family phone plan because your card never declines. My name went on the internet account because the install guy only took one. My Spotify became the house DJ. My DoorDash became the safety net for nights when money was tight. Every month, I stared at bills with 3 addresses and pretended this was normal. Then came the fund. Dad's idea. Everyone put in a little each month for emergencies. He said at dinner like he'd discovered budgeting. Ben can manage it. He's good with spreadsheets. Translation, I'll create a shared savings account and fill it myself while everyone else drops a 20 at Easter and calls it even. I did it anyway. I made a folder in my drive titled Family. I kept receipts. I logged transfers. I told myself that if I could quantify it, I could control it. Aunt Joe got new tires. Evan paid application fees. Mom covered a dental cleaning. I watched my statements like a hawk and still somehow got surprised every time a charge appeared at 2 a.m. for 30 wings and a pitcher of beer. "If you want to be generous," Mom said once when I paused at a Zelle notification, "do it without keeping score." I laughed. I couldn't help it. I'm keeping rent. She didn't laugh back. The small breaks became routine fractures. I played weddings. I taught scales to 8-year-olds with sticky hands. I gave the family login, cash, time. I showed up with moving boxes when Evan got booted from an apartment for noise complaints. I replaced the family router when it wheezed. I fixed Dad's old laptop twice, then bought him a new one when he spilled coffee on the keyboard and said, "It's fine. You can write that off." Somewhere in there, I stopped bringing anyone to family dinners. My then girlfriend asked why. I said, "They're just loud." She said, "I can be loud." I said, "Not like this." A month before Christmas, the leak turned into a spray. I got a text from Kyle. "Bro, can we talk?" I called him back. He fumbled for a minute, then said the quiet part. "Your dad told my mom you were withholding money from the family fund. He said they had to cover Thanksgiving without you." Withholding. I repeated. "That's what he said. I paid for all the groceries." I said, "I have the receipts." Kyle sighed. "I know. It's just the way he told it. You were punishing them. People are mad, Ben." "For what?" "For being, I don't know, proud." I hung up. I looked at the spreadsheet named family/2024 expenses.xlsx. It stared back like proof that truth doesn't always win votes. A week later, Mom called and asked if I could front a tiny deposit for Evan's new place because he just needs a fair start. I said no. Silence. Then, "You've gotten mean since the music got you attention." "What attention?" I asked. "I play restaurants." "You think you're better than us?" she said. And I swear I heard Aunt Joe's voice in the background whispering, "Yes." That was the week the invitations went out. Christmas at the house, like always. Group chat exploding with "can't wait." Gifts. A separate chat spun up without me. I found out because Evan sent a screenshot to Kyle that landed in my text by accident. The caption over my blacked-out name said, "Don't tell him the plan." Kyle texted, "They're being stupid." I typed, "It's fine," and closed my phone so hard the battery icon flickered. I bought a pie anyway. I'm not sure if that was hope or habit. Maybe both. Christmas. The porch. The sentence like a slammed door. "You're not invited." I sat in my car, the pie steaming the windshield, my fingers buzzing like I'd just played a set too fast. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I did what I do when a monitor starts feeding back. I traced the signal path. What do I control? My accounts. My name. My consent. I dialed the bank that held the family savings. I'd been the only legal owner because no one else wanted to deal with the forms. I gave my passphrase, "Report unauthorized access." I said, "Remove all authorized users from my credit card immediately. Issue a new number. Freeze transfers to the numbers ending in 12 and 37. My voice surprised me. No shake. Just clean notes. "Yes, Mr. Carter," the agent said. "Effective now." I hung up. I opened my carrier app and toggled 3 lines to suspend. I stared at the button for a second, then tapped. The plan was in my name. I'd added them to help. The screen flashed. Evan, suspended. Mom, suspended. Dad, suspended. DoorDash, canceled the shared pass. Netflix, Spotify, the streaming bundle. Reset passwords. Logged out all devices. Autopay car insurance for Evan. Remove driver. Utilities at the house that ran through my card. End autopay. Switch the billing to pay on arrival. It took 4 minutes. I'd expected 30. It felt like cutting cords. 1, 2, 3. Then I set the phone face down and put the car in drive. The first call hit before I reached the corner. Mom. Then Dad. Then Evan. Then Aunt Joe. She somehow had my number saved as Benny Boy, which is a whole different genre of insult. Then Kyle. It stacked past 50 in the time it takes to roll a stop sign. When I parked in front of my place, the screen said 101 missed calls and still vibrated like it was trying to jump into my hands. I let it. I answered Dad's first. "What did you do?" he barked. "Remove myself," I said. "You ruined Christmas." "No," I said. And surprise, I meant it. I just stopped paying for it. "You're punishing your family," he said. "Over money. Over boundaries." I said, "Money is how you've been crossing them." He scoffed. "You think you own us because you can afford bills." "I think I own my name, my credit, and my time," I said. "And you don't." Mom clicked in on a 3-way without asking. "Benjamin, turn the phones back on. Your brother is trying to call his manager. Tell him to use his own plan," I said. She inhaled like the word "own" had stabbed her. "You're cruel." A beep. "Evan." I switched. "Bro," he said, like we were in a prank video. "Not cool." "Opening a credit line in my name wasn't cool either," I said. "That was months ago," he said. "Let it go." "I'm letting go," I said. "Of all of it." He swore. "I can't unlock the front door. The app isn't loading. The Wi-Fi's down." I closed my eyes. "There's a key," I said gently, because even now, I wanted to teach him how to survive a world with fewer apps. Dad jumped back on the line. "You will regret this." "I already did," I said. "For years." I hung up. I didn't throw my phone. I set it on the table, peeled back the pie lid, and ate a forkful cold. It tasted like cinnamon and a door closing. The next morning, I woke up to a wall of blue bubbles. Rage, pleading, scripture quotes. A photo of Evan holding a dead phone like a victim on a billboard. Kyle's text sat near the top. Simple. "Can we talk?" I called him. He answered on the first ring. "Man," he said, "they're saying insane stuff." "What are they saying this time?" I asked. "That you stole from the family fund. That you canceled the phone lines to embarrass them. That you—" He stopped. "Say it." "That you threatened to call the cops on Evan." I laughed, short and sharp. "I threatened to call the bank on the next fraud alert." Kyle exhaled. I tried to tell your dad this was between you and them. He told me to stay out of it. Then he asked if I could spot their dinner because all their cards were declining. Did you? I asked. I did, he said, then rushed. I panicked. They were in a grocery line. It was awkward. I'm sorry. I closed my eyes and found the part of me that isn't cruel. You don't owe me an apology, I said. But you owe me honesty. Did you know they were planning to lock me out last night? Silence stretched. I pictured him pinching the bridge of his nose the way he does when we soundcheck. I knew they were mad about the deposit for Evan, he said finally. I didn't know they'd do that. There it was. Honesty. Or the best version of it he could. Manage while standing between me and a table that fed him gravy last night. Okay, I said. Here's my line. I'm not your bank either. We can play again when you stop borrowing my gear and my spine without asking. He was quiet. I miss when it was just the two of us and a milk crate in your van. Me too, I said, and meant it. After we hung up, I opened my laptop, the one that still smelled faintly like coffee from a spill I'd never admit, and drafted a message. Not a manifesto, not a novel. 2 paragraphs to the family group chat. I'm done managing the fund, paying your bills, or putting accounts in my name. If you believe I owe you, send an itemized list. I have receipts. We can talk like adults with a third party present. I attached a PDF export of family/2023-2024.expenses.xlsx. Names removed, totals highlighted, my own entries marked in yellow. Dates, amounts, notes that said things like Evan, tires, safety, and mom, Wi-Fi, job apps. I kept it bland. Facts are persuasive when you're done begging. Within seconds, Mom, how dare you send our private finances to everyone? Joe, this is petty. Dad, a spreadsheet doesn't measure loyalty. Refund the $300 I gave to the fund last March. I scrolled. Last March, Evan had Venmo'd me $50 with a pizza emoji and for the house in the memo. I screenshotted it, circled the $50, and replied with no words at all. Silence. Then private messages exploded. A cousin I barely talked to wrote, "They've been doing this to you since we were kids." An uncle I always avoided at weddings texted, "Your father is stubborn, but he'll come around." Kyle's mom, who has always liked me best when I'm fixing Kyle's life, sent a prayer hands emoji. And then, bizarrely, a recipe for scalloped potatoes. I made coffee. I cleaned the sink. At noon, Dad called and left a voicemail I didn't listen to. At 2, a number I didn't recognize flashed. I let it go to voicemail too. When I checked, I heard a woman with a flat, professional tone. "This is Lacey at Caramel Ridge Apartments. We've received a guarantor verification request under your name for an application from Evan Carter. Please call us back to confirm or deny." Guarantor. In my name. Progression, not surprise. I called Lacey. "Deny," I said. "He does not have permission to use my information for any purpose. If you receive paperwork with my signature, it's a forgery." "Understood," she said. And then, softer, "You'd be surprised how often this happens." "I'm not," I said. I texted Evan, denying your guarantor request. "Don't use my SSN again. Next time, I file a report." He replied with a barrage. "You're ruining my life. This is family. You think your music makes you special?" I typed no. Boundaries do. Deleted it. Typed instead, "Get a cosigner who knows what they're cosigning." That night, while the world posted photos of roast beef and pajamas, I opened a fresh document and wrote out a timeline. When I started paying, when I stopped, when I said no, what they did next. Not because I planned to sue anyone, but because stories get rewritten in my family. I've learned to carry a copy. The next day, Mom called early, like she'd barely slept. "Benjamin," she said, all brittle sugar. "Let's reset. Bring back the phones. We'll talk about this in the new year." "You set the terms for 32 Christmases," I said. "I get to set them for one." She sniffed. "Money comes and goes," she said, as if quoting a hallmark. "Family is forever." "I hope mine is," I said. "That's why I'm building one that doesn't require me to bleed to be invited." She hung up. Things shifted quickly after that, because money is gravity. Without my autopay, the internet at the house went off for a week. Dad tried to put it in his name. The system flagged a debt from 7 years ago. Aunt Jo started a small whisper campaign about me being selfish, which fizzled out when 2 cousins texted me separately. "This is why I moved out. And can you send me your budgeting template?" Kyle and I had a hard talk in my practice room. I stacked my pedals between us like a fence. You don't get to sit at their table and then ask for my gear. He rubbed his hands on his jeans. I genuinely didn't know they were going to shut you out last night. You knew enough to enjoy the ham, I said, and immediately regretted the line because it sounded like Dad. Can we fix this? He asked. We can try, I said. But not if my stuff keeps coming back broken and my name keeps getting used like duct tape. He nodded. Then he pulled cash from his wallet, crumpled small, and put it on the amp for the interface, he said, voice quiet. It wasn't the full amount. It was a start. Starts matter. I spent January calling companies, changing emails, replacing passwords with phrases only I would remember. Left-handed minor bridge. Pie on passenger. I left the phone plan suspended and sent Mom the link to start her own. I told Evan to meet me at the bank if he wanted to talk repayment. He didn't. He sent me a screenshot of his empty checking account and wrote, "You did this?" I didn't answer. Work got louder. A producer I'd sent stems to in June finally wrote back, "You free for a TV spot? Need 30 seconds of something that feels like heartbreak, but hopeful." I laughed. That's my whole January, I said on the call. The spot paid more than 3 months of the family fund. The check cleared into an account none of them could see. One afternoon, I found a voice memo on my phone from a number I didn't recognize. It was Aunt Jo, except her voice had lost its pearls. "Your mother is in tears," she said. "She says you sent her a bill for the internet. You should be ashamed." I wasn't. I was tired. I was cooking rice and eggs again, but this time because I liked them, not because I had to choose between groceries and someone else's tire blowout. In February, my cousin Layla called. We don't talk much. She's younger, smarter, already escaped. "I started therapy," she said without a hello. The first thing the therapist said was, "Who taught you you must be useful to be loved?" And I said, "My family." Then I thought of you. "You were always useful." "I'm sorry," I said. "I chose it." "You were chosen into it," she replied like it was a lyric. We met for coffee. She showed me her budget in a pixel spreadsheet. I showed her mine, a spreadsheet with sums on the right because my brain likes right-handed totals. If anyone had taken a photo, it would have looked like we were doing math club. But for me, it felt like a rehearsal for a show I'd finally want to play. March came. The house finally got their own internet plan. Aunt Jo stopped texting for emergency rides. Evan posted a story of him holding keys to a studio apartment. The caption, "No thanks to certain people." I watched it twice, then put my phone down without replying. Progress is rarely applause. On a Tuesday, I stopped at a thrift store for frames. A kid at the counter squinted at me. "You played the lantern last month," he said. "You were the one who did that quiet song, and everyone shut up." He grinned. It was cool. I said, "Thanks." And it felt like a clean note ringing in an empty hall. In April, Dad called. I let it ring once, then answered. "Can we talk Sunday?" "Just us," he said. "Yes." We met at a freeway diner. Bad coffee, carton eggs. He went first. We were unfair. "We turned you into a wallet." "You helped," I said. "I did." He nodded. "I'm not asking for anything. Your mother misses you." "I miss who I thought she was," I said. "I don't miss paying to sit at the table. I don't know how to fix it." "Stop calling money love." He finally looked at me. "Okay." No hug in the lot. Just 2 men standing up straight. I drove to the studio, tracked a quiet, clean guitar line. That night, I played a small room. Kyle listened, didn't ask for gear, bought me a seltzer. "I put my own phone plan in my name," he said. "Proud of you," I said, and meant it. Home was lemon cleaner and coffee. My calendar was green. Deposits matched my work. The family folder sat untouched. A week later, a letter. "You are listed as an emergency contact for Evan Carter." I underlined emergency, crossed out financial in my head, and texted him, "Ambulance or fire, not rent. Hope you're okay." He left me on read. I could live with that silence. In late spring, Mom sent a photo. Scalloped potatoes. "Look what I made." No apology. Just an offering. "Looks good. Coffee next week." "Phone's on your plan." "Yes. Yours works too. We're learning. If you want a neat, tied up, weep in tears ending, this isn't it. This ends with boundaries that don't need permission. Bills I recognize. And a man who plays music at a table he owns. People say money changes people. It didn't change me. It revealed everyone's script. When the funding stopped, the performance ended. My moral at 32. I won't pay admission to my own family. I still buy pie. Sometimes I bring it. Sometimes I eat it from the tin. Leaving is a choice now, not a punishment. Clean version, I love them. I won't bankroll them. Both can be true. I'm Benjamin. I make songs, keep my accounts clean, and answer my phone on my terms. So, tell me, what would you have done if you were standing on that porch? Have you ever had to draw a hard line with family or friends? I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.